This is Keys to the Shop, Founder Friday edition. Today's an encore episode of an interview with Emi Fukahori of MAME Coffee in Switzerland. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DiFirio, and I'm your host for the show, and I am always happy to have you here on Keys to the Shop. Do take a second to subscribe both on your podcast platforms and over on YouTube, where we are starting to post our video interviews, and we're making that slow march toward video content, both of our regular scheduled interviews and content, as well as some unique content that you're going to want to stay tuned for. So do all that stuff they say to do, subscribe, hit the notification bell, etc. And tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your teachers from grade school about Keys to the Shop. That'd be really helpful. Now, for a moment here, I want to talk to you a little bit about the need for asking for help. And in the coffee industry, this is really why you're listening to the podcast too. You're hoping to get some kind of insight or, inspiration or resource to help you in your business. And explicitly asking for help sometimes is harder to do. We can be a little isolated in specialty coffee, especially at the higher levels of ownership and leadership. And that's why I love getting to work one-on-one with people with Keys to the Shop consulting, because we can break down that wall where maybe it's intimidating to ask for help and say, no, it's actually very healthy to do so. And after more than 2 decades of working in the specialty coffee industry in all different levels in the retail coffee world, there are a lot of ways that I can help you overcome the challenges that you're having, either starting your coffee shop on the right foot or elevating your operations, quality, and culture in your current coffee shop. There's a lot of ways I've worked with clients over the past 6 years of doing Keys to the Shop consulting, and I would love to have a conversation with you about what your challenge is, what your circumstance is, and how I can help. To do that, just reach out, chris@keystotheshop.com. That's CHRIS at keystotheshop.com. This custom one-on-one coaching is in-depth and powerful because it is tailored to your specific needs. We listen, we analyze, we find solutions, and we walk you through the implementation of those solutions across your business. And again, it all starts with a conversation. Send an email to chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, today's episode is brought to you by the Ground Control Brewer that has been revolutionizing batch brew coffee for quite a few years now. When I first became aware of this brewer, I remember I was at Coffee Champs in Nashville many, many years ago, and I met Ellie at Ground Control, and it was just this weird machine that I didn't know what was going on. And when I tasted the coffee and saw the possibilities of this machine, it was intriguing. I actually had Ellie on the show shortly after that. And now I'm happy to say that many people have discovered around the world what this machine, the Ground Control Brewer, can do to help them elevate their batch brew coffee with the SCA award-winning technology, and also help them produce batched iced lattes, batched cold brew. The new brewer actually is 30% more efficient at producing batched espresso and cold brew for this purpose. And so check them out at groundcontrol.coffee and see what this machine is all about. If you're looking for an elevated way to make coffee in your coffee shop that really deepens the coffee experience and creates more efficiency in the cafe, go ahead and check out the Ground Control Brewer, groundcontrol.coffee. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Barista Series. They have been championing baristas for quite a long time, not just with their products, because their products obviously are fantastic and world-class, but with the energy they put in, the support they put financially into that world. Now, their products stand up to the test in the cafe. The steaming capability of their plant-based beverages, they are able to perform the way that a professional latte artist barista will want them to perform. It keeps the balance of the flavor focused on the coffee in the cup, and this is why customers love it. This is why cafes around the world prefer the Barista Series. So go to pacificfoodservice.com and get samples. Check them out and taste it for yourself. I think you're really going to be impressed. And if you're looking for the best plant-based beverages from the best people, then I definitely recommend the Barista Series from Pacific. Okay, everybody. Well, today we are going to be exploring an old episode, but a wonderful episode with the co-founder of MAME Coffee, Emi Fukahori, who is not only the 2015 Swiss Barista Champion, but at the time of this recording had just been crowned the World Brewers Cup Champion. She co-founded MAME Coffee with partner Mathieu Theis, who is the 2016 Swiss Barista Champion. And since opening the coffee shop, they have been introducing customers to a range of world-class coffees in a very accessible way. This original interview that I had with Emi was based on the fact that she had just won the Brewers Cup. And so we get to talking a lot about the Brewers Cup routine and how she chose her coffee. And then we go into the founding of MAME and their philosophy of the best coffee is the one you like, and producing a menu that, yes, is brewed by champions and a staff that have been trained by champions, right? But it's world-class coffee, but it is done with a supreme focus on caring for people and creating an accessible experience across a range of different flavor experiences. And on the show, and the reason why I'm bringing this episode back here, I think, is we've been focusing a lot on, the idea that so much of what we do has an impact on the customer across a range of different expressions in the coffee shop. On our Founder Friday episodes, we go back and forth between the really earthy and the of the people coffee shop and very high end and very, you might say, ethereal coffee shops and very minimal and different styles all across the board. And what I love about this example of a coffee shop at MAME is you have all of the accolades, you have all of the coffees, the equipment. You have a city like Zurich, Switzerland, but you have operators whose heart and desire is purely to delight people and to care for people. As Emi points out, throughout this episode, you're going to hear her talk all about how they want to welcome people into the experience. They're excited to share with people, and it's their honor to care for you. And that's really a beautiful thing when a lot of the fanaticism we have around coffee can sometimes end at the coffee. And that same enthusiasm and energy and love actually doesn't extend to the customer. And that's what I loved about this. As I'm re-listening to the episode, I'm just so impressed by what they're doing and the philosophy and mission behind it. And so I thought it was a great opportunity to bring that back for your listening pleasure. This is an episode done about 5 years ago, and so there's a good chance that you have not listened to this episode. So now's your opportunity, and I'm really excited to re-air this episode. Here now is our Encore episode at Founder Friday with Emi Fukahori of MAME Coffee. Emi, welcome to Keys to the Shop. So happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm also happy to be on this show with you.
Oh, and hey, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How does it feel to be the WBRC champion?
I'm over happy, and it's quite unreal to think that I just won the championship. It's obviously one of the clear reasons why we all competitors compete, and that's such an honor to be crowned as the first World Brewers Cup champion as a female. And it means a lot to me, but yes, it is still unreal. That's my actually honest feeling.
Yeah, so you've had some time to process it now, and you're back home in Zurich?
Yes, I am back home. I did have some time to process it, yet it's not still enough. I'm still thrilled about that event. That was a week ago. And then I'm processing it more and more slowly. Yes.
Well, it is absolutely a monumental win, and congratulations again. I'm really, I want to kind of dive into a little bit about your routine, and then we want to talk about what you do in Zurich and about your business and your career in coffee. Your routine was just awesome, and you presented such kind of a cutting edge take on coffee technique and the variety you offer to the judges. And just can you describe what kind of experience did you want the judges to have in your presentation?
Sure. So my biggest purpose of that show, after training for a couple of months, was truly the cafe experience that I daily have with my customers in my coffee shops in Zurich. I've been competing for 4 years now. This is my 4th year, both nationally and internationally. And that was my 2nd time on the world stage. First time as a brewer, but 2nd time on the world stage itself. And I remember when I was competing at for the first time at the national and then afterwards world, my whole feeling was about myself presenting my idea in front of judges, hoping that I won't fail. So that was me as a subject. And then throughout years of me competing, that attitude actually swapped into a different direction, meaning could I pass to judges as information so that they can enjoy it, or they can find it entertaining, or they can like the coffee I serve as much as I like my coffee. So that's actually one of the biggest purposes that I set up my 10 minutes as simple as possible, informative, but still entertaining, and feeling that, wow, so I hope the coffee that I described would taste like she said. Just as simple as that. That's actually what I do every day at the cafe. Mm-hmm. And I love it. I enjoy doing this with my customers, and they entertain me because they're entertained by me. And that relationship that I have every day, I wanted to bring it to the judges because they are very nervous as I am. And I learned that, and also it's a fact, everybody told me, but obviously I learned that they are here for us to make as good points as possible. So they're not there to look for my failures, but they are here to support me, enjoy my show, and hoping that what I say is true in a cup. So I made it simple so that they can enjoy the cafe experience like they would have in any coffee shop.
That's brilliant. Yeah, obviously it worked. And the basis of your whole presentation, of course, is the coffee, choosing the right coffee for accomplishing that. And you chose a very rare variety. It was a mutation of a Bourbon variety. Mm-hmm. Can you describe a little bit about how you came to find that coffee and choose it for this routine?
Sure. So when I have a competition in front of me, I always do the same thing. I try to think what I would like to achieve, so what I would like to perform or introduce, and how can I find the best coffee that is there. And then I always try to do that blindly. So I don't have any specific variety, origin, process, anything expecting, but I would like to taste them. I would like to cup them blindly. But then this time, my partner Mathieu, he was placed 3rd this year in Amsterdam for WBC, and as a prize, he was invited to the Terra farm with other finalists. And he was there on the farm in Brazil in this August, and he brought some coffees to me as samples because he had been impressed by how high quality coffees that they could provide. And me, as I said, I wanted to try them blindly, so I asked him to kindly set up cuppings, and I didn't know which one was what. I only knew that they were coming from his trip in Brazil. And to be really frank, I thought that the Brazilian coffees are for coffees that is rather comfort, straightforward, not negatively meant, but not that complex.
Sure.
In a sense that it's being chocolatey, full body, nutty, nothing is wrong about it, but I just didn't link with my World Brewers Cup championship. So my expectation was not there. I said, okay, it's going to be my first cupping for my coffee selection of WBRC. So as a practice, almost, I'll be happy to try, because obviously Mathieu was saying those coffees are fantastic. And then I, of course, believe him. But again, it was all from Brazil. I was expecting chocolatey, nutty, and full-bodied. So he said 15 coffees in front of me. I didn't know what is what. And especially 4 coffees out of that 15 were just stunning. And one was just approaching me and said, take me, because I'm so special and I'm so unique and I'm so delicious. You have to take me. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I do. That was Lorena. And again, I was saying that was about my discoveries. And I discovered that the variety for the first time there. And obviously, after researching it, it is not the new variety. It was rather forgotten variety that is difficult to grow. And me being a barista, I just didn't have opportunity to get to know the coffee until then. But then that moment, I discovered the coffee and I was just blown away. So that was how I decided the coffee. And then everything else just happened around it. So that was sometime in end of September or end of August. And yeah, that's how I met Lorena for the first time.
Excellent. A match made in heaven. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the theme of your presentation that you stated at the end of discovery and sharing fits perfectly, just how you discovered that coffee for the first time yourself and sharing it with the judges. You just exuded a lot of that. Probably it's same kind of excitement you had at the cupping table was obvious in front of the judges table.
Ah, great. That was my goal. Yeah, I was really excited. Yes.
So when you're handling a coffee that you're really excited about, and then you look at the options to present it, it can be kind of daunting because there are endless numbers of brewing devices that you could use, and you settled on one, and then you added a kind of a newer technique to it. Describe to us the brewer, the tool you use to extract this coffee, and then how the multi-level temperature extraction came to play.
So once I found this Lorena, after actually trying different coffees just to be sure, but then my decision was quite clear. So, okay, we take this Lorena. All right. So once we decided on that, I tried to understand how this Lorena particularly works. So how does this Lorena like if I pour hot water? How hot? Low? High? How long? How is it drip? Is it immersion? It sounds funny, but I basically tried all possible ways that I had as available, like I had availability, and then try to pick the one it seems to work. Like for instance, the method that I've done is rather designed for Lorena to highlight the Lorena's characters. So being, it's hard to be bitter because there's less caffeine, and it's quite exciting to have different types of layers and different types of acidities that Lorena contains. But then I was always thinking, how can I highlight that extracted in a cup? So I, ended up designing the way I did on the stage after trying different times of different methods. And then I tried to combine them. I did something first, and then, for instance, hotter temperature first or lower temperature first. How long? I did it different types of length, but longer, shorter. And I realized that specific Lorena liked it to be treated with different temperature, water temperatures. And it was also about, is it closed for how long and is it dripping for how long? So if I kind of missed the puzzles, the Lorena wouldn't have tasted the way I wanted Lorena to taste. So it was quite interesting, but then also playing the puzzles almost. And it was challenging because, as you can imagine, Lorena being roasted changes every day. So how long to be degassed or how long to shine, when is the peak, when it started to drop. And this was by nature changing every day. So it was an enormous amount of challenges. And if I think back now, it was one of my best times or best prize, so to say, of this championship. Obviously, I'm very happy with the title, but that period taught me a lot, and also different behaviors depending on the coffee. So it made me insecure in a positive way that I wanted to learn more. So that period with Lorena playing around was one of my highlights of the championship.
Yeah. So hitting those flavor notes, all the red grape, it sounds like red grape was a dominant characteristic of the coffee. And then the notes that were on top of that red grape foundation, if you opened it up a little bit more or less than what you did in practice, you're going to not get those things. That's pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah, well, I was really hoping to have it designed in a cup, and that's also something that I was very, very happy about, that the coffee tasted the best of the best on the final day. So I was really lucky.
So in terms of getting everything to work together on the day, there's so much practice that goes into this. And like a lot of competitors at the world stage, you used a coach. Can you describe your experience with that and like why you decided to use a coach?
Yeah. So as I said, I've been competing for 4 years, and I always had nice opportunities or nice encounters with people who have more experience, so that I can learn from them. And this year particularly, I wanted a coach who could bounce with me for ideas. So it was not the coach that was telling me what to do. I was not asking him, so to say, so here's my coffee, here's my device, what can I do with this? It was more about, so I have this coffee that I really like for these reasons, and I would like to maximize and highlight that characters in a cup. And then I think with that method, this would work like this. What do you think, my dear coach? And then my coach was Tetsuya. I'll come back to him a little bit later. But then Tetsu would say, with his experience and understanding, he would either, let's say no to my idea, but with the concrete reasons, with the solutions that he thinks, and then we can try it together. And if he says yes, but the same thing, he would like to improve it for me, that we can do it together. So it was not only finding my way, but also finding my way with him so that I can learn. And the next time when something similar happens, I have the knowledge to solve it myself. So this time I really needed a coach that has experience at the similar stages. So I picked Tetsu, and then also we met each other in 2015 when he was World Brewers Champion of Japan in Seattle, and I was competing for Switzerland as a barista at the time. And we met each other there as friends. So since then, and also afterwards, with his big success, I was always looking up to him. And once when I won the national championship this year, so for me, he was the guy I wanted to ask, so that I can take an opportunity to bounce with him and see where I can go with the coffee that I chose.
Excellent. So with your discovering this coffee, with practicing the extractions, bouncing ideas off a coach, all of the factors that go into this, why do you think you won? In the end, what do you attribute your success to?
So I think I have two thoughts about it, say like this. One was that, again, as I said, I was very lucky on the day. My coffee tasted the best on the final day. Best of the best ever that I could wish for. And this was a pure luck. Not that I cannot plan it, but a lot of competitors, including myself, fight for this fact that your coffee hopefully shines the best on the day. So we competitors all prepare ourselves to have it ready perfectly on the day, hoping that the judges would agree with what we all say. Not as an imaginary, but because we know that the coffee will taste like this, we hope to have the best condition on the best day. So I was very lucky because, as I said, on the final day, I never had such a really nice cup of Lorena ever. So I was very lucky. And obviously every competitor has a different approach towards competition. And for me, this year, as a fourth year, I really wanted to bring a coffee experience or cafe experience with the coffee that I really truly believe in. And here maybe also adds a bit of luck that I could discover a coffee that was quite unusual. And I've selected it not because of Brazilian coffee held in Brazil, but all those like nice encounters came into pieces, and then I could manage to wrap it up together. And the message that I wanted to pass on simply got passed on to the judges. So I felt very connected to them when I was doing the performance. And I really, truly enjoyed the 10 minutes. It was quite unusual to say, because I'm normally not how can I say? I'm not a performer. I'm not 100% secure feeling when I'm in front of thousands of people, especially presenting, the country that you live in and all the responsibilities in the shoulders. I rather freak out. So it's not really my nature. But that time I could fully be myself and then enjoyed 10 minutes. And then I could feel the connection with the judges. So obviously that's what all we competitors wish to, and obvious reasons that, you have your coffee at the best, and I feel so good and I feel connected, and those attributes help me to act as I would like to, and then I could deliver that. So maybe that's why.
There's so many variables, and taking all of that and wrapping it into one package requires a lot of intentionality and a lot of awareness of what's going on, and constantly tweaking things. And so obviously everything kind of came together at the right time, and your efforts paid off.
And also why I think I won, I wanted to mention that it's also thanks to the teamwork, because not only having my coach Tetsu, I had Mathieu on me, and all those coffee community and encounters that I had along the way. Obviously, of course, a lot of competitors are supported, and we're all happy about it. But particularly for me, that meant a lot. So this, I would like to embed why I could perform. Let's say why I could perform well. Yeah, thanks to the coffee community and also encounters, my coaches, and that's truly a teamwork. Because I think I did the least, especially in Belo Horizonte, where I had to only perform and taste and train. The rest was taken care of by the boys. So, yeah.
Excellent. I want to talk a little bit about how you discovered coffee in general, first discovered coffee, and how that led you to become a professional in coffee.
So I've been always into food and beverage, maybe because, or thanks to my background of being born in Japan, where we all cherish, specialities from different regions, food and drinks, and this has been always like this since my childhood. And I've been living in Zurich for 8 years now, and when I came here, it was a kind of a little, let's say, a culture shock, because it was different. It's not bad or good. It's just different here. That's what I thought. So I was seeking for something that I could persuade my enjoyment with food and beverage. And I'm also very much outgoing. So I love to meet people from different backgrounds, different cultures. And I wanted to enjoy that together with those people. And there was one gathering with experts in Zurich, which was called Coffee Club Zurich, actually done by Aleš, who is one of the European Coffee Trip boys, who is based in Czech Republic. Back then, he was working in Zurich, not in coffee. He created this community started to meet up in a cafe, just chit chat why we like coffee. And for me, it was just happened to be because I, like anybody, I enjoyed the coffee, not knowing anything about it. But then through that community, one day they set up a visit to a roastery, suburb of Zurich, where the Barista Champion of Switzerland at the time in 2014 was doing her routing for Rimini World Championship. Not knowing anything about it, I was impressed what she was doing, all these perfections in every little detail that she was bringing over on the stage and explaining about the coffee that I has chosen. And I was offered to have a sip of a cappuccino she was making. And I was just blown away. It was an Ethiopian natural coffee. Again, like anybody in specialty coffee, I think that would be one of the first encounters with specialty coffee, that you could taste the difference between, let's say, normal coffee and super sweet strawberry-like cappuccino. And then I was just, wow. And then I asked, of course, how did you do that? And then she explains all those information about the coffee, how she does, and, recipes and this and origin. And I didn't understand anything because I was at a time working in an office in tourism industry. I loved my job, but again, I was just blown away. And all those flavors and the taste buds in your tongue, my tongue, was just screaming for more. And there, I think that was my first discovery of specialty coffee. And then her roaster and the trainer, the same person, Philip, he asked me if I want to learn more. And then I said, yes. And then he said, then compete. I'm like, okay, yeah, I do that because I wanted to understand what's going on. It's interesting what you guys are doing. It's very professional. So I would like to learn. So then I think he kindly offered that, not expecting anything. Me, I simply took it as such an offer. I was so thrilled. So after work, I would every day go to his place and he would show me, so today we do an extraction. And then I would go, what is extraction? And he'd say, okay, nice. You have a coffee. You have to grind them. You have to tamp them. And you have to insert it in the machine and start and stop the extraction. So, okay. Or one day he comes and says, okay, today we would foam the milk. And this is a steamer, that's the switch. And you have to insert the steamer and then foam the milk. And then he demonstrates it. And then I'm like, it looks very easy. Of course not.
Of course not.
So half year of this failing and failing and failing and trying and failing and trying and failing. But because I loved it so much, because the flavors that you get out of the coffee was just fascinating and just incredibly fascinating. And that kept me on going. And then after half year, I was, competing. And then I won the Barista Championship. Mm-hmm. Not knowing anything again. And my knowledge still little, but at that time even smaller. And then with the fact that I won, I could go to Seattle. And that's where I thought, wow, the world of coffee is so deep and you can approach from every different directions. You can come from a passion like I have, or I still do, or you can also come from a business perspective like I do now. And you can come really from seeds to cup. But there were coffee professionals. Everybody was taking everything so seriously, and that looked just awesome. I wanted to join them. Mm-hmm. So after the WBC in 2015, not mentioning what I've done there, was more about, wow, I have so much to learn. I would love to learn. I would like to then take it seriously. So I slowly then started to take it more and more. So that's how I entered my coffee career. But I was still working in the office. I quit for the first time, I think, after all, in 2016. That's how I changed my careers.
Was that a pretty scary move for you, or was it something you were just excited about with no nerves?
No, so how can I say? I'm a person who is driven by what I like or what I like doing. So not hating what I was doing then, but the interest and love and curiosity towards coffee. There was a point that took over my curiosity towards tourism. So since then I was clear. It was more about finding the timing when to change my careers, not if I should change or not. So it was never scary, let's say. It was more about, like, frankly said, like, am I enough to jump into the industry? Because the impact that I had in Seattle was so big that I felt really worthless. I'm not like doing anything to the industry, but I'm rather taking from the industry. So I felt so bad that I was so bad. I wanted to kind of get my hands on and try to understand what others are doing and hopefully contributing a little bit back to people that are nice to me and then try to give what they have. But I was feeling that I was taking a lot. But then in order to break that, there was a timing that my curiosity took over. And then I said, okay, I would like to learn more. So if I want to do it, I would like to devote myself. So that was the time that I said, okay, then I go for it. So it was 100% in.
So this is the beginning of your shop, I assume?
Actually not. I was working as a barista for half a year in a small specialty coffee shop in Zurich that was already existing. But the girls who were running it decided to close the shop, but then concentrate on the roastery. But then that was the time, that was the middle of 2016. But then that was the time that I said, okay, if they're not opening their cafe, I would like to then have my own, because at the time the scene was quite quiet. Then I wanted to have a community or place where, a coffee community can grow. And that's when I decided with Mathieu to open my coffee shop, or our coffee shop.
So founding MAME, this is a store that is a multi-roaster store.
Right.
It is run by two champions. And Mathieu is a 3-time Swiss champion. And I think I saw in a Instagram story the rack of trophies in your shop. Yeah. So that's a pretty unique situation to find yourself in. Describe to me what you both wanted to accomplish with this shop. There's coffee shops that just set up to try to do what everyone else does, and then there are champions who kind of join forces and start this shop. So what is it that your vision is for this coffee house?
Right. So Mathieu and I met through coffee, and he also has a similar background as me, that he was working in a corporate, and now he switched his careers. But then the story behind MAME is quite, let's say, simple, and we want to keep it simple because that's actually the truth. The reason why we founded MAME was a true love towards coffee. It sounds really cheesy, but it is true. We wanted to live out of our passion, and because we were so lucky finding what we really enjoy doing, we really hope to make a living out of this, hoping that it would work out. So yes, with these titles, and now this year, 2018, is crazy for both of us, but really coming to the origin, it was really truly with the hope that it would work out so that we can live out of coffee. It's hard, but it's been enjoyable, and that's how we really take it. Yes, we are both champions. We love competing. But yeah, the reason why we founded was we wanted to have a place that we can drink a good coffee every day, we believe, hopefully with a community that shares the thoughts, and make coffee and make money out of this so that we can live. We didn't want more. Well, we didn't expect to have more, because we see that the business, I think it's everywhere the same. It is hard. It is a hard business. And in Switzerland, where, living cost is quite high, and all the costing and the labor cost and everything costs a lot. We just simply hoped that it would work so that we can keep learning and competing and making coffee.
So how has it been going?
It's been great. Once again, it's not an easy path, and especially it's been 2 years, entering a third year now. At the beginning, since, as I said, the coffee scene in Switzerland was rather quiet when it comes to specialty coffee. I wouldn't say there was none, but it's rather quiet. But then we were very lucky with the timing. Like Colin Hammond was saying with you, talking about it when you guys had a podcast together. Mm-hmm. We've been very lucky with the timing. I think the food and beverage scene in Zurich was just ready to enjoy something special and unique when it comes to coffee. So we've been lucky from the first year. We had audience who were curious, who kept coming, bringing their friends. So small, surely, but then certainly there is a community. So with the great support of this community, it is hard, but it's getting there. Now we have 2 shops. We started as a one. We opened a second shop this year, just right after Mathieu's WBC.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and we are planning to do a roastery now. And
Wow,
it seems to be
excellent.
right. I mean, we try to keep it up. We try to stay on the feet. You know, like everything can go wrong at some point. But so far, so good. We've been very thankful and lucky and happy. Yeah.
Great. Well, congratulations. It sounds like things are going pretty well, in spite of the obvious challenges that come with running a coffee shop. I wonder, back when you were talking about having a simple approach to what you offer in the cafe, and then mentioning also that you want a special and unique offering, how do you match those two things? Because I think in the mind, at least the first thing that comes to mind when you think of simple is something that may not be unique. It may just be something that people are used to, and that's simple. So what do you offer in the shop, and how do you approach serving people specialty coffee?
Right. So, like I said, specialty coffee scene was quiet, and geologically, Switzerland is above Italy. So when people talk about coffee, it's often referred to as espresso, and then it's often referred to a traditional way of espresso. And that's, let's say, a standard of what everybody, or let's say many people, imagine. Now, we have coffees from different origin, different characters, but then based on espresso-based drinks with milk, and then filter coffee. And those are, let's say, 2 beverages, or 2 ways of choosing your beverage. And then we really focus on 3 styles, or 3 characters of coffees that it's coming, being rather chocolatey, fruity, and floral. So chocolatey is like, less acidic. That's maybe close to the traditional. Fruity, going a little bit adventurous, and then floral. And then every single drink we make, we go with precisely made recipes, so that every time customers come back, they won't have the same coffee, but they would get what they're expecting. Now, the first year when we opened MAME, we had to explain, we wanted to communicate with every single customer what we are doing. And with the curiosity of the audience, which was small but growing, I could have a chance to chit chat with them, even like 10 seconds. And I can I have a coffee? And then my first question would be, I have different coffees that you can choose from, chocolatey, fruity, floral. And then I was studying the reactions. Some people say, oh, it's great, it's nice. I can choose one of those 3. Or some people go a bit taken back and shy to ask what they are. Yes. You can study the faces. So that was what I was doing every single time, especially when we just opened. So it was less busy. So I was studying people's reactions. And then, of course, when somebody, let's say, backed off, I say, hey, it's not the chocolate that is inside. It's rather less acidic, but maybe you can start from here and then you would enjoy it, because I would enjoy it. I just don't want to make, let's say, a sour impression in a coffee. Literally, because their standard would be, let's say, less acidic, or let's say more, settled, and nothing to do with those flavors. But then even the chocolatey one is already different from what they're used to. So here I want to make a bridge and say, hey, I'm serving you something different, kind of similar to what you know. But then there's a reason why this coffee tastes like that. So believe me, I try to prepare the way I think is the best. So I hope you like it. So that was our approach. It still is the approach that we have with a traditional mindset, or traditional picture towards coffee and specialty coffee.
How do people react to you both being barista champions? I imagine it's a draw for people, and maybe it also allows them to give themselves more of an adventurous spirit when they enter your shop. Do you feel like that has helped people say, well, I normally wouldn't be adventurous with my coffee, but I will because I've got barista champions serving me?
Yes, totally. So that was also something that I have to thank my customers, because they took it like exactly how you described. having two champions as owners, and we do work there. It's not that we own the cafes and, lay back on the beach. We work a lot and we enjoy working there. And yes, the titles do help, especially rather not convincing them in a forcing way, but it's more like, I enjoy drinking wine. And if I would like to buy me a bottle of wine, because it's so diverse, I would go to a sommelier and then I would ask him or her. And then I would tell them that I'm looking for wine. And if I see that the person is knowledgeable with a title, and then I would maybe feel comfortable or maybe excited to share what I'm looking for. So the hoping that the person can arrange it for me on a day one, not knowing what I'm getting. Mm-hmm. But that kind of triggers my curiosity. So this often happens. So even like people who wouldn't maybe necessarily be super coffee lovers or coffee fanatics, by chance they found MAME and they enter and they want the coffee. And some people do give us signals that they don't have time or they're not interested, and then we back off. We don't ask anything. Mm-hmm. But then we try to study. So what could that person enjoy? So mostly in that situation, I would go with the easy, comfort, chocolatey coffee, not asking a lot of questions. But even this situation, people would come back and say, hey, the coffee was so good. What was it? And that's already like a nice way. Here we go. Okay, the person is interested. And then whatever we say then. And we also put a lot of efforts and knowledge, as much as we know from championships. So yes, it does help. And I hope that we can trigger like a hidden interest from customers by holding and presenting the titles.
That's awesome that it builds so many inroads to conversations and buy-in moments for the customer. Do you ever find that it is hard to overcome an expectation that people might have of you and your shop because it may be, not to say that you're not doing an awesome job, but sometimes mm-hmm. people's expectations can be unrealistic in terms of, it's a shop and the human beings are running this shop. Do you run into that sometimes?
Sure. Again, I'm being honest. It's obviously impossible to satisfy every single customer who walks in. We wish we could. But even if it was not, let's say, what a customer was wishing to have or not expected to have or expecting to have, we try, even that situation, we try to handle it as well as possible that the person is not upset. Mm-hmm. This also happens regularly, right? You go to a restaurant, you order something and you had expectation but didn't taste as expected. Doesn't mean it was bad. So we at least try to put that situation in this way rather than, it was not what I was expecting and didn't like it. Mm-hmm. Because it is truly a pity. I feel quite responsible for being the last person of making a coffee and serving it. And then that's the last destination. After, cultivated in a farm, imported, roasted, delivered, packaged, and then sold. And I'm the last person. And that customer can judge the coffee because of me.
Yeah.
Even if it was not expected, even if it was surprising. Surprising could be positive, surprising could be negative. And that's actually depending on me. Not necessarily the way I prepare the coffee, but it's more like how I approach them and how I can, let's say, cope with the situation. Even if after they got upset, I try to then solve it so that it was not expected, but it was okay. Mm-hmm. So that, the coffee doesn't get attacked. It's like, the coffee was bad. It is so easy to criticize the coffee, but it could be because of me or it was a wrong choice or whatever. So I try really hard to avoid that.
That's really interesting. That mantle of responsibility that we have in the shop is such a important one, of course, and how you're describing it as if it's on you, then you can solve it. But the chain reaction, if we let the customer blame the coffee, is that they end up never buying Brazil, for instance, again.
Yeah. It's really responsible. It's a huge responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. So I try to enjoy this rather than taking it too much on the shoulders and then say, I try my best to kind of presenting it in a different way.
I feel like if you both being multi-time barista champions, running a shop with such intent, can still run into these issues, and in a shop is always sort of a grab bag of experiences. And the rest of us should console ourselves that, yeah, like you said, we can't please everybody. And we should just do like what you did with your presentation. You're working to communicate your discoveries, your passions to the judges, in this case, customers, right?
Right.
Every day, just get better and better, and give yourself some grace, I guess, in the process.
Well, we try, and believe me, of course, humans could be very weird, but in the end, we know what we don't like and we like, right? I mean, in the end, it's just a coffee. And in the end, it was just a cafe that they entered. And then when they're upset, you as a barista know what to do. It's quite simple. And for me, it's a part of the job. Besides being technically skilled and experienced in terms of making coffee, but, handling this and presenting as well as you can with what you have in front of you, for me, it's actually a bit more important than being able to make a coffee.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well said. So, going on your learning journey in different levels, first as a basically home barista, and then competition, and now shop ownership.
Right.
What have been some of the challenges that you've encountered that have really caused you to learn the most as a shop owner, that maybe competition and what you had learned previously didn't prepare you for, that you learned right in this moment?
Yeah, so competition and keeping competing made me know more about coffee. And when it comes to running a business, I am still and super junior to this, but that's where I really appreciate my better half, Mathieu, who is more mature, older, and have bigger experience in managing people. So for me, managing people in a sense that I can manage them so they perform well would be a biggest challenge, because everybody reacts differently. So I'm hoping to be able to guide every single person as well as possible that they can perform, but obviously that is difficult. And I'm very much emotional person, so when it's something difficult and then I don't know how to solve it, so I get really emotional. And then comes my better half, who has better knowledge and also calmer, and he always has different approaches to every single thing we have, and that helps me a lot, because that adds me. He completes me in a sense that we can manage the business together. So I'm learning, but managing people, that would be my homework / challenge since we started the business. Because once we, obviously when you're competing, we do have to manage ourselves, including others, and, coordinating with each other and stuff like that. But when it comes to business, it's a different story. I mean, in a different level. So being employed in a company as a staff in a previous job, I'm now managing people. And again, another responsibility is on my shoulders, so that their living is actually on us, and I want to do well for them. And that's a big challenge.
No doubt. That's definitely, over the last couple of years doing this show, that's a common challenge in management and leadership. How many staff do you have now?
At the moment, all in all, we are 8. And some of them are part-time. One is almost full-time. Yeah.
So you get to pass on the knowledge that you have collected and all the trainings that you had when you were visiting the roastery for those 6 months of just learning the ropes. I'll bet a lot of that kind of plays a factor in how you teach now, in how you train people.
Yeah, sure. So those baristas that we are there who are with us, they're more or less experienced at a certain levels in specialty coffee shops in Zurich in the past. The way we, let's say, retrain them or reform them, or we call it like we MAME them, it's always the same. Like I try to be as simple as possible, and I don't want them to think that they cannot question us. Whenever we, let's say, teach something, we really try to give them reasons so that they understand rather than they are told to do something, so that they have, they gain, let's say, knowledge little by little. So when they face a difficulty, so when they have to find a solution, even if it could be wrong, but they can get the initiative of, hey, the coffee is running so fast. I think the grind size is wrong. Do you think I can make it finer? Like this kind of thing. I would like them to say it, not being told and say, hey, the coffee is running fast. Why don't you make it finer? So having that in my mind, I always try to imagine myself back in 2014, not understanding whatever the barista was saying. I try to break it little by little. So everybody has a different background and they can touch the machine and they can make a coffee, but not everybody has ever used a scale, or not everybody ever thought, why do I have to dose this amount for this amount of volume? So I try to really we try really to make sure that they feel comfortable enough to ask. And then we're here to explain. So whatever we teach or introduce something new to them, we make sure that they understand it. They don't have to understand everything, or we also learn every day. We don't know everything. But whenever they feel that they're not sure with something, at least with what we have, we are here to explain with reasons. That's why we think this is the best. What do you think? And we are repeating it like really many times. And then we started to have a few baristas among the 8 for, let's say, more knowledgeable or bigger understandings. And then they're also there with us for others to support and say, it's okay, you can take your time, but you have to rather build up your understanding. Don't say yes without understanding. Like if you have a question, say no. Like I also learned that. Like if you say just yes, okay, do it, it's great. But then if you have a similar situation, you don't know how to solve it. So if you understand, you say yes, but if you don't, then you say no, and then you keep asking. And this is not my culture, like being a Japanese, like we are like yes men. We always say yes. But living abroad really taught me, like, if I don't understand, I have to keep asking. And I really believe that people are not, of course, I mean, after 10 times, maybe you get a bit annoyed. But I think questioning somebody shows that you are actually listening. Mm-hmm. You are actually understanding what I'm saying. That's why you can place a question.
I feel like that's really something that you can, as a trainer or an owner, somebody training somebody, that you could take away from them by being annoyed by the questions because they're not taking your word for it. That would damage people's understanding, and then the customers Absolutely. Don't get their questions answered because the baristas don't know.
Absolutely. That's, for me, is core part, because they're also in front of my customers, and then my customers ask them. And then, if my baristas don't know what to answer, that's pretty bad.
Your baristas, so when you're selecting people to work for you, and as you expand your business, I imagine you're having to look for particular types of people. What type of personality traits or skill sets do you look for in a barista that would represent you well to the public?
Right. So for us, barista is a person who makes a coffee. Obviously, she should be as skillful or knowledgeable as possible. Here, I think there's no end, including for us, because, things change, situation change. Somehow coffee is a mysterious thing as well. We keep learning. So here, if you have skill, that's great. And especially at some point, like for us as a growing business, sometimes it is indeed easier to say, we'd better get the experienced barista because we need somebody who can just jump on the machine and deliver. That's, I think I have no doubt, like it's obviously appreciated. However, we also really, really value somebody who can bring their personality and keen on learning more. So there is no end, and then you believe so. And it's okay about it. You are not perfect. I'm not perfect. Mathieu is not perfect. Emi is not perfect. That's fine. So let's make it as good as possible. So it's not about how much you can bring, but how much you like to do with us. How much do you want to grow? How much do you want to absorb from whatever we are doing? So you see it as a chance to get to know that world rather than a threat that you have to be like one of us. It is absolutely not the case. I mean, if you're competing, that's great. And if it's a motivation to compete, that's even better. I mean, we love competitors because we are calibrated, let's say. But one thing we really value is really the motivation and also willingness. And then this also goes to customer service. For me, it's absolutely a crucial part that our customers feel happy to come to MAME because of our baristas. They shouldn't come because of our titles. They should come looking forward, having a good coffee done by our baristas, and they're communicating with those customers like we would do. So similar value-oriented people, which is quite hard, of course. Sure. But that's where we see how ready are you to say how much you don't know, so you like to improve. How ready are you to say, I'm so excited about this coffee that I would like to so brew for you. I hope you like it. Instead of, I know this because it's from here. It's processed in this way. And the process means X, Y, Z and tastes like this. Those nice, let's say, package information is great to memorize, but I would like them to associate with experience that my customers are having so that our customers get excited, motivated to try something new and motivated to come back and build up a relationship. And that's, for me, like a humanity, caring spirit. There's one word in Japanese that I have in my head, and then I was looking for it in English word. It's not really hospitality spirit. Maybe it is. But in Japanese, it's said omotenashi. That means like you're caring for somebody. It's your pleasure. Mm-hmm. It's my pleasure to care for you. And that spirit is, for me, essential. So when we meet a new barista who would like to join us, of course, we ask how skillful they are as a barista, but also how caring are you? Mm-hmm. Is it for you a pleasure to care about others?
That's wonderful. People do look for a place, especially around coffee, since it's a ritual that they have where they can feel comfortable and welcomed and put their trust in the people who are making that coffee for them. And
right.
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge, but so wonderful when you get those people.
Yeah, we are very thankful with those 8 baristas, hoping to have more in the future, of course. But every single barista we have, they're really performing well, and we are very happy and thankful to have them or to have met them because thankfully they found us and approached us and wanted to work for us or with us. And that's a nice encounter once again. Yeah. And yeah, we happen to have them and it's great.
So when people build trust in a company, oftentimes there's not much place to go beyond the counter to learn more about coffee. I know you do a lot of education through cuppings. You've got a nice long mm-hmm. table right there in the front of your cafe. And right. Do educational sessions. Those seem like the next level of customers interacting with you and your staff is how do you approach those educational sessions? Do you view them as like the next level of bringing the customer into this world of coffee that you've discovered?
So when we do a cupping, we do it in 2 different ways. So one is a monthly public cupping session, which we would post on Facebook, and then we would let's say, ask for sign-ups, and then people who have been on our page or with us at MAME, they know what's going on, so they sign up and they come on the day that we gave. Mm-hmm. So that's where we would like to, showcase new rosters or new coffees, or now it's a championship time, so we exchanged among competitors, we exchanged our coffees. It's also a great opportunity to showcase coffees at the championship, but then to them, because most of the time for such an opportunity, such an occasion at the public level, it is actually most of the time coffee lovers or coffee fanatics or coffee interested people who join, who sign up, they make time and they come, which is great. That's more like a, let's say, casual way, but still kind of like a nice keep up event among each other. And then we also sometimes do like a fruits degustation, which means from a flavor wheel, we dilute the fruits, like seasonals, and then we put it in the water, and we don't know which one is what, and then we taste them, and then afterwards we say what it is. And then, for me, like apples, they're like super mysterious. Like green apple, red apple, they taste so similar. And then we do that as a fun activity with, coffee lovers who try to describe or say, oh, this coffee tastes like a red grape, but how does this red grape taste in coffee? So, okay, then let's taste red grape and let's try to describe it. So that's kind of like including the fun part. So not too much I teach you what to taste. It's more like those are the coffees that we discovered in Belo Horizonte. Those are the coffees from a new roster, or those are the fruits that we mostly find in coffee or seasonal. That's that part, the public part. And then the private one is very diverse. So educational reasons, people come because they would like to learn it. Or we also have the same amount team buildings from companies or associations or groups or birthday presents, or, so they're just taking it as an event, but privately. So we find a date, adjust it for them. We do a cupping session. And then here I try really hard to understand what they're looking for. So it should be like, does it have to be educational, or does it have to be fun, or is somebody looking for something specific? Is it too overwhelming, or is it entertaining? Like stuff like this. So we design what kind of coffee we put on the table. So hoping that after the event, for both public and private, they did have a good time. They learned something. Depends on the groups, of course. Informative, but not too much. But it's all about sensory experience, hoping that they want to have more. So they would come back, or they would put more questions, or they start to question why the coffee tastes like this, or, what kind of fruits, or I've never had star fruits in my life, but now I know what kind of taste the star fruits gives, or these things. Like I would like to have a small gift of memory. That's kind of like leads to the education, but with especially those events, we don't want to overdo it. We want to still keep it fun, but informative. That's how we kind of differentiate both public and various private cuppings.
Excellent. It strikes me that, you went to Seattle those years ago with the impression that you were taking a lot, but not offering a lot. But, fast forward to where you are today, it seems like you're offering quite a bit. And
I try.
Yeah, you're making quite a difference in the way that people perceive specialty coffee, and in your own community, just expanding people's horizons. And you're sort of, I guess you could say you've exchanged one tourism for another, because you're guiding people through this whole world of coffee, so to speak.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I loved my job. Also previously, I was welcoming customers overseas, or groups overseas, to Switzerland. So Switzerland was my product. I was so excited to welcome them, because I would imagine them being impressed and enjoying so much Switzerland. Now my product changed, but the role, I think it's very similar, because my product now is coffee, and I have people who are coming over and try, I'm so excited to know how they would enjoy. How can I do so that they can enjoy the coffee that I have? And I try to think anything to do so that they would say, hey, that was a great coffee, I'll come back. like in Switzerland, the same. Like, oh, I enjoyed traveling to Switzerland or in Switzerland, but this part I didn't see, so see you next time. Mm-hmm. This coffee is new to me, so I will try next time. That's quite similar. I mean, at least to me, it is quite similar.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you're doing so much to just find the nuanced approach to talking about coffee from what you were talking about with your staff, not reading off a static sheet of statistics or data, but giving nuance and life to this product of coffee. It's got such a big story behind it. You're doing such an amazing job presenting that to...
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And what is next? I mean, I know you said you're going to be opening a roastery. What does the future look like for MAME and your career? What do you hope to accomplish in the coming years?
So since the start and also throughout the 2 years now, growing a little by little, Mathieu and I have a huge... we got really inspired by Coffee Collective in Denmark. Copenhagen, Denmark, saying that they have a few shops and they have a roastery established, and they deal with like producers, not like 20, 30, but a few producers that they always buy from because of the relationships, because of the long-term relationships that they can have between each other. Including the training program for baristas that are working there. And that, let's say, as empire, this is something we would really happy to have. Obviously, we can't have that now, so we would happily work for this. But that's one big picture that we have. That would be really nice if we could build up a MAME as a few coffee shops. I don't want more, not like 20, 30, 50. It's not about this, but it's like few coffee shops, always based in Zurich. That's where we both feel home, even if we are not from here, but we feel very much home here with the community that we are starting to build, with the roastery possibilities, with some producers that are willing to work with us for long term, and conquered plan for building up barista skills up to championships, because we love competing. I think it's really great to compete. But also not forgetting the daily business, try to expand the community and loving coffee people more and more. That's kind of a big picture what we have. Now in the coming years, yes, the quickest would be the roastery, but then we would like to do it like slow by slow. Yeah. We have to learn a lot again. It's a fun part. But competing in Brazil and representing Brazilian coffee also opened up our mindset about Brazilian coffees, that it has just full potential. And that's just one example. I don't think Brazil is the, let's say, end. It's more like, more countries are coming up, more producers are getting more innovative, and it's great to see. And it will be nice to get to know few producers that are happy to work with us, and hopefully, build up our relationships and a small little MAME empire.
That's awesome. That sounds really exciting. I look forward to seeing that unfold. So to those listening who are budding coffee shop owners who have a passion for coffee and want to do similar to what you all have done in making a living off of what they're passionate about, what final advice would you have to them here?
Yeah. So for me, both competing and working as a barista in a coffee shop before opening mine were really like essential experience that I could get. Now, competition is not, let's say, for everybody. It takes up a lot of time, and it is definitely a nice thing to do, but I can imagine that it's not for everybody. But if somebody's thinking of opening own coffee shop, I strongly advise that person should work as a barista first. before opening your own cafe. Because you could see, or you can finally see what you as a barista have to do, regardless of being able to do it or not. It's more like we should understand what the barista as a job means. At the moment, not everybody thinks that it's like, let's say, a proper job. Some people think that it's just a student job. It's not a problem. But then for me, as a barista, as a job, it's not just making a coffee. Knowing how to make a coffee is not enough. And that's just kind of like even below the, let's say, basic. Starting off this, some hospitality knowledge or human understanding, and also nerves to understand people and try to swallow what you're actually thinking, not losing your temper, but stay professional. And everything like this, all in all, this costs a lot of energy, and you need to be ready to do this. Mm-hmm. And that feeling that is difficult as a barista, I think it is absolutely essential to feel it and make sure if it's exactly what you would like to do or not is a key. Because obviously I don't think it's for everybody. Like I said, caring for somebody won't be a pleasure for every single person. Otherwise the world is like so beautiful. True. But if you're not, that's not the problem, but you shouldn't open a coffee shop, because it's not only about the coffee that you're serving. It's the community, it's the human, it's the emotion, it's everything. So if that is not what you would enjoy doing every single day, even if you wouldn't stand as a barista after opening a coffee shop, you'll be just an investor. But still, in my opinion, I think you should know what it's all about to be a barista, at least so that you kind of have a better understanding of having even a staff working for you. Is absolutely necessary to understand what they're going through, so that we as owners try to make it easier for them, because I cannot change the job. So they have to like what they're doing, but we can try to make it easier so that they can go smoother than how it looks as difficult, or long hours, or, grumpy customers, like how to make them happy. Like it sounds so easy to say, but it's not easy actually. Mm-hmm. Like, are you ready to cope with those things? Like those would be challenging, and it's not always successful, but you have to be prepared. I think you should be prepared what a barista is as a job before doing anything. So for me, the 6 months after competing, but the 6 months as a barista was really helpful. Yes.
That's excellent advice. Really, so much truth in what you just said. And you spare yourself some pain if it's not meant to be, and maybe your customers some pain too. But
right,
if it's meant for you, obviously this is something that you become versed in and absorb, instead of getting surprised by it when you open your shop.
You're like, oh no, I don't like people. I like coffee, but I don't like people. That's not good. I mean, really not good.
Yeah, no, there's so many people that open shops that have never really stretched their skills around, managing people, let alone, even employees, serving people and then serving your staff, of course.
Obviously not talking to every single person, that's not a job, but like try to understand what's going on in somebody's head. It's tiring, but it's fun as well. So if you find it fun, I think it's all right. But if you're not, maybe you should go back to computer. Because it doesn't speak, right? So, yeah.
Well, this has really been a wonderful conversation. I'm really grateful that you've spent this long with us on the show. And I wonder how we can stay in touch with what you're up to and what's going on at MAME.
Right. So at the moment, we're working on a website, but we are present in Facebook and Instagram. And me and Mathieu, we are also individually present in Instagram, strongly connected to MAME. And there we would really communicate with both international and national audience. It's great to see that a lot of things are being connected at the moment, like in South America, so like in Brazil. We are now in Europe, but I'm also Asian roots, so also in Asia, Japan. and we try to go a little bit more. So yeah, you can find us on the social media.
Excellent. And we'll definitely link to those things in the show notes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, thank you. Again, this was, like I said, it was wonderful to hear your journey and the wisdom that you've learned over the years working in coffee and doing such a great job representing it on the world stage. So congrats again.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I am really, really honored to be ask you to be here with you. It's really amazing. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody. Well, I'm really excited to have shared that with you. And I hope that you were inspired by this kind of a focus in what I would consider kind of a high-end expression of coffee. A constant is the need for human connection, compassion, and care and service. And this is something that is universal across all expressions of coffee. If you're a listener to the show and you've listened to Founder Fridays across the show's history, you'll catch this through line, I think, pretty easily. And Emi was just wonderful in our conversation back then. We should really have both Emi and Mathieu on the show again sometime. So if you all are listening to this, let's get in touch. But anyway, if you want to learn more about MAME, you can just go to mame.coffee and find all the information there. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback for me about the episode or keys to the shop or any other thing, maybe you're interested in consulting and coaching and you would like to work one-on-one with me to help you and your team achieve excellence across your operations, your quality, your culture. This is something I do with many, many people. So let's get in touch. Let's have a conversation. Chris@keystotheshop.com. And with that, that is the end of our show, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I hope it was helpful. And as always, I truly hope that this episode has given you keys to the shop.